Hi, everyone, and welcome to our very first Facebook Live Remote Nursing Jobs Canada. We are going to be doing a webinar on how to land a remote job. So if you're watching today, we're really glad to have you. Like I said, this is our very first time, so bear with us if we have any glitches, but we really want this to be interactive. So if you're watching, feel free to put some comments on the chat, say hey, let people know where you're from. We'd love to hear from you. I just wanted to give a shout out to Valerie, who's my moderator, who's going to be just making sure everything runs smoothly, and also my co host today, who's Ella. So, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Sara Fung. I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for 16 years now. I've worked remotely now for about 3 years. I am a resume writer and a career coach. So my company is called the RN Resume. I also created this group in February of last year. And I'm really glad that it's grown to the numbers that it's grown to, so that there's such a great community of nurses who either have remote jobs, want to get a remote job, want to help other nurses find remote jobs. And it's really, really great. So before anything else, I'm going to let Ella introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ella. Thank you for Sarah for inviting me to today's webinar. I'm very excited to be here. And I am located actually based on Vancouver. So you have East Coast and the West Coast joining today. So I'm an RN. My background is actually critical care nurse. I did a bit of travel nurse as well before I hop into the hybrid and remote work career path. So I'm currently more in a healthcare program management role, working currently in a hybrid model. Just through the journey of transitioning from purely like a very burnout ICU nurse to doing what I am today with a better work-life balance. It just helps me learn a lot. And through that journey, I found out there's a lot of nurses who are in a similar boat that I feel I can definitely use my experience to help them with. So that sparkles an internal drive for me to really start helping others who experience similar situations to hopefully really save their time and also save their effort and shorten their pain while accelerating their career path. So excited to be here today.
Awesome. So I see a couple comments in the chat. I'd love to know if you are watching right now where you are from. So I can see that there's someone from Vancouver, BC. That's kind of near Ella's neck of the woods. I'm actually in Ontario. I'm in the GTA. So we've got someone else from Montreal. Awesome. I love Montreal. Kamloops, BC. I think of skiing when I think of Kamloops. Okay, so we've got Comox, BC. Another person from Vancouver, Toronto. We've got Carly, a student nurse in Ontario, who's actually working remote right now with surrogates, but interested in remote opportunities after graduation. We've got someone else from Toronto, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Belleville, Toronto. Anyone from Alberta? We're missing the center part of Canada. We've got some East Coast, West Coast. Southwestern Ontario. That is where I went to school. I went to school in London. Okay, awesome. So I'm glad everyone's listening. I guess maybe we can start with our journey to working remote, because I get asked this a lot. And I know our stories are similar but different. Ella, do you want to share your journey to how you landed your remote job?
Yes, definitely. I still work with the public kind of, a health authority at this point, but as more of a hybrid to remote basis. How I came to about, I kind of explained as well through, I think, doing critical care and then pandemic on top of that makes me really realize I'm very burnout from the bedside and I just needing a way out at that point. And then I struggle a bit in the beginning. I don't know where to look for these work. Being a unionized employee for my entire life since graduating, I have no clue how to get these jobs. But through the journey, I realized perhaps I need a little bit more leadership experience rather than just the purely bedside. So I took on what I now call like a transitional career first. I took on a leadership position with a care home to really develop my leadership capabilities to really flesh out my resume and skills. So I did that. And then throughout the journey, kind of closing end of that career path, I started looking for jobs kind of at first everywhere, right? It's like you're so lost. So I did that for a bit. But I realized I wasn't hearing back anything. And then I kind of go back to the path of, okay, how do I leverage what I have right now and go move forward? So I was still casual with the health network. So I start looking into the internal job board. It's like, okay, I'm just not going to filter the nursing path because I know I don't want to be a bedside nurse anymore. I start looking for excluded positions within that because I feel like maybe I just have to open up the search more. And then I start getting these really interesting role, like project manager role, for example, business analysis role that's within the healthcare field. And I start looking at their keywords, their requirements. Nowhere it says they want a nurse. However, they never said they don't want a nurse. And when I start reading their requirements, learning more about these jobs, I feel like, you know what? A lot of what I'm doing is transferable. I better start writing my resume the way that speaks that. And through time, and then kind of also plus networking, that's how I came about today, is doing a health program management work where I get to work with a lot of new initiatives that's brought up by upper management, and kind of thinking, how did all these will work for to contribute to healthcare still, while not being a bedside nurse. So that gives me better work-life balance. I work Monday to Friday with a set schedule. And one of the things that opened my eye, maybe Sarah too, is when we work bedside, I was like, oh, it's so much flexibility, shift works, right? I get to go to my appointments and then be free. But when I work shift, I don't know about you guys. When I do 2 nights, I need like 2 days off to just recover from night shift. That's not what I call a break. We already have the break, and now I'm back to work. I've never done anything in between work. It's just nurses seems to have 2 states: dreading to go to work and working, right? Back then, that's kind of how I was. That's the 2 states of me. And then working Monday to Friday now kind of adjust to that. I actually able to squeeze in like appointments during the weekdays, and then spend time with my loved ones on weekends. I feel more productive. I am also doing my master as well, giving my time for education, and make a very consistent planning of my schedule. So better work-life balance is what I want, and also flexibility. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very common that we're feeling like, at least when you first graduate, that the only option is to work at the bedside. And certainly, I think there's many values to working at the bedside, but there's also a lot out there that we don't know about. And I certainly never learned about non-traditional jobs in nursing school. I didn't even know remote jobs existed, honestly, until the pandemic, which is probably like many of you. The way that I got into remote work, I sort of fell into it. It wasn't something I planned necessarily, but if I go back to 4 years ago, I was in the hospital feeling very burnt out. I was in a leadership role, just lots of stuff happening that I won't really get into, but I just really felt like I needed a change. And so I took a chance and I left the hospital and I went to home and community care. I even took a pay cut to do it because I just needed to leave. And even before the pandemic, we were allowed to work from home 1 day a week. And I really, really, really looked forward to that one day. And of course, when the pandemic hit, we just worked remotely full time for 2+ years. And that really opened my eyes to like, this is actually a way of life. This is something I could keep doing. And I really like it. Um, and now I've been working remotely now for 3+ years. I work for myself now, so I have even more flexibility. But having a remote job actually allowed me to build this business of helping nurses with their careers, and so it was really great. It was a blessing in disguise that I left the hospital, and I was able to do so many great things, and I want to be able to help other nurses do the same thing. And I feel like now nurses are my patients. And so, I always want to help people as much as I can and give you the skills that it took me so long to learn. So that's kind of why I'm here. That's why we're doing this webinar. So I'm just going to pause here. I'm going to put a little picture up on the screen, and one second. I'm just going to put this up. So for anyone watching right now, working from home, there is what society thinks you do, what your family thinks you do, what your friends think you do, what your clients think you do, what you think you do, and then what you really do. So I'm just wondering, for anyone watching right now, what is it about remote work that interests you the most? Feel free to put that in the chat. I think for me personally, it's just like you said, Ella, it's the flexibility. It's being able to go to the bathroom, being able to eat, knowing that if I wanted to take vacation, it's not this huge struggle where I have to, plan out my vacation over a year in advance and hope I get approved. And then if I don't get approved, I have to switch shifts. Like, it just allows for so much more balance. And I know that a lot of people enjoy the shifts because you get all your work done with and you get a bunch of days off. But I used to work 2 days, 2 nights, 5 days off. And like you said, Ella, I spent
Yeah.
that first day just sleeping because it was just getting off my night shift. And then the day before going back to work, I'd be dreading going back to work, trying to plan out my meals, trying to plan out like how I'm going to get through the next 4 days without having any time to do anything like cook or anything. So I just feel like those 5 days kind of turned into 3 days. And then because I was always trying to switch off my night shifts, I didn't really get the 5 days off. So I just ended up working what I call a traditional type of schedule after all that, where you just always feel like you're at work.
Yeah.
So I got a few comments here. So someone said flexibility as well, flexibility, work-life balance, work-life
And then
balance,
both. Yeah.
flexibility. How about you, Ella? Is there anything else that you like about working from home?
I'm always the type that like to have some kind of ownership of my time. So when you think about, I need a break from just to go to pee, right? When you work so like busy on the floor, like now makes me realize, yeah, like I get to dictate my date. The first time when I transition, I keep asking for permission. Say, oh, I would like to have my Monday and Tuesday work from home. I will make sure my agenda is done. My boss is looking at me like, I don't really care. Like, just as long as you get the work done, you manage your day. Because I'm right, it's a salaried position. It's not a shift work. It's not by hours. It's by projects. It's by how you manage the time and present the end product to leadership, right? So people trust you, have a lot of ownership of your time, and obviously no commute. Like someone say, it's absolutely amazing, right? If I start work at 8, I just wake up at, I don't know, 7:45. So that's kind of really the greatest part of it. It's better health. Like at the end, like I found working home gives me way better health overall, mentally, in family relationship, and also work-life balance with friends and stuff. So I absolutely do not regret it. I love the consistency in the work that I do. So yeah.
Hmm. And I think that for me, even it's just like getting out of that bedside mentality is hard because when you're at the bedside, it's like you have to make sure you account for all your time. I know I spoke to a nurse recently who said that when she started working in nursing informatics, she thought, like you said, every time she went to the bathroom, she needed to keep track of that. Or if she took too long for lunch, she was asking, should I have my pay docked for that half an hour? And just all these things. And then finally, her boss said, you know what? Just stop asking me for permission. You're doing a good job. As long as you get the work done, you get to your meetings, it's fine. Please stop bothering me with all these little requests. And so it's just getting out of the mentality is difficult, but it's a good shift in your mentality because the truth is like we are autonomous, we are professionals, we're adults. I could see why at the bedside you might need someone to cover your patient, but that's no longer the case. So you're still doing important work, but it's not work where if you leave for 5 minutes, then the world is going to come crashing down. The other thing I noticed when I left bedside was that there are literally no sick calls. I don't know about you, Ella, but the number of sick calls that happened while I was at the hospital versus remote, I can count on one hand, actually, not even the number of times that I have called in sick over the past 3 years because you just have a schedule, I think, that works better with your body in general.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
I don't think I'm meant to work 12 hours. I don't feel like a lot of people are, but we hang on to this belief that if we work our 3 or 4 shifts, then we get a stretch of days off. So it's just putting your body to a lot of extremes, and a lot of nurses try to do too many things, I feel like, on their days off too, because you
Yeah.
feel like you have to,
You
right?
jam packed it. Yes. Yeah. Right. And I know nurses are very, we're known as competitive or whatever it is. But ultimately, I just found that working from home just makes me more healthy. I think we need to prioritize our health over, what you call us, but because after nursing school, right, it's like bedside. I need to get to a certain level. I need to go to specialty. That's how I define success. That's no longer right. That's not correct. I felt I was suffering, just like Sarah, like the sick call times, right? It's just like the state of panic just thinking about going to work. I hated that feeling. So how do I get myself out of it? That's kind of why I'm trying to help others now, is how to get out of that vicious cycle. It's like I want to change, but something stopped me. And I go back to the next day for a shift work, and then I become miserable again. I went through that cycle and I waste so many of my time, my mental health and my physical health, that at this point I'm like, you know what? If I can help somebody to maybe shorten that suffering or that cycle, I've done enough, right? So that's why I'm here to help others, just like Sarah, is to get through that hump.
Yeah, totally. So let's get into something important. And this is a question that we get a lot. So just going back to the very beginning, where do we find job postings for remote nursing jobs? Ella, I'll let you start with this one.
Yeah, so I kind of also touch base a bit about it in the introduction there. I would say start within. So leverage what you have right now. So a lot of the people watching right now is probably unionized nurses working either hospital or care homes or private whatever, but you're working under a company. So when I say looking within, right, finding job posting is you already have leverage. For example, you probably work for UHN, I think one of the network in Ontario. I don't have access to their internal job posting, but you do. For example, if you work in Toronto Hospital, whatnot, start looking within it, right? Internal job board. Try to not look for unionized jobs. Start with looking at non-unionized. In BC, we call them excluded positions. They might call something different each province. So something that's excluded just means they're not under a union. A lot of these leadership administrative roles, they're not under union. So start looking and then go into those jobs and see, is that something you want? Like whatever they're kind of saying in their requirement list, go from there, right? And then, for example, I actually found a lot of project related work, like health project related work, under my health organizations while I was working still as a bedside nurse, right? These hybrid jobs are often grouped, like I said, into corporate or non union category. And then look for leadership, administration work. Also, if that's kind of, you're like, well, I'm not sure if this is enough, start looking at the big organization that's known in your community. For example, in your province, is there non-for-profit organizations that's very well known in your city or province? That's like cancer agencies or certain disorder agency. Go to their website, seek opportunities out of the nursing norm. Take their nursing hat off, because I know a lot of us still want to be involved in healthcare in some way, right? Doing the work that we want to do is help people, help others. In the core, that's what make us chose this profession. And start looking for jobs, even in university, right? If you want to go teaching, that's one thing. Doing health promotion seems like a big topic right now for a lot of people. They're still interested in. So non-for-profit, let's start looking at all these health authorities or organization jobs. So yeah, so that will definitely will help you kind of start getting a sense. Oh, I see a question. I guess what you're completing. I'm doing my master actually in business. So I just want to expand my scope out of nursing to really have a more general stream. I'm still very hopeful about the future. So that's why I start doing more of a business related work. And I actually have nursing friends who are doing law degree, and someone just become a lawyer as a nurse. So just there's so many opportunities out there. And when she told me, like, just as a tangent, but when she went interviewing for her master to the law, she got in even before a lot of the people that just have a law degree, bachelor in laws, because they're so unique. The nursing skill is so unique. So you can see how your nursing skill, it's really desire out there, but you need to present in a way that the other person who's not a nurse understands what you are offering. So that's kind of the key in finding these jobs, and also how to write your resume and how to interview for these jobs. It's not to tell them you save life by using a CRRT, right? That what an ICU nurse will know what that is. I don't, like, other people would not have a clue what a CRRT is. Some people don't even know what IV stands for. So you need to make sure you write your resume. Just give it to your, loved ones who are completely not in healthcare, and they can take a look. But yeah, so just going back to how to find the jobs, start looking within and look for non-for-profit health organizations and start following their pages. This is kind of the key as well. Sometimes they don't post a job, but sometimes they say, hey, we're looking for somebody, something. So that's kind of always out there. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really great. Like, start looking internally first, because you have a better chance as an internal applicant than if you were an outside applicant. And some of the nurses I know that got into nursing informatics, just as an aside, I get questions all the time from RPNs about how they can get remote jobs. The way that you can get a remote job is, let's say your organization is going to start with a new EMR system and they're looking for people to help with the go lives. You could do that because that's an internal opportunity. And from there, you can work your way up. So I spoke to someone recently, and that is the exact path that she took. She does not have a bachelor's degree. She is not an RN. She doesn't have any special training. She doesn't have any certifications. They will teach you all that on the job. But just going back to our topic, I know a lot of nurses look on Indeed. That's a great place. Personally, I look a lot on LinkedIn for the jobs that I post in the group. There are, with both of those websites, there are ways to set up job alerts. So you can have a job alert up for your local area, nurse, remote, hybrid, like just put job alerts there, because it's better to have what I call push notifications, meaning notifications that automatically go out to you, than pull notifications, meaning that you have to every day go onto the hospital website and look for jobs. And then you have to do this 10 times because you're looking at 10 different organizations. So make things as easy as possible for you. Sign up for job alerts. If you know of certain organizations that do hire remotely, sign up for their newsletters, because that way you'll get these notifications sooner. And I think just even like being more active on LinkedIn, making it clear that you are looking for a remote job is really going to help. Probably 95 to 99% of recruiters are already on LinkedIn. And especially if you're looking for a non-traditional job, you might as well be where they're at already. Sorry, there's a question. What is the term you mentioned that means not under a union? Was it excluded, Ella?
Yes, yeah. So in BC, a lot of them are under what we call an excluded position. It just means they're excluded from a union, because a lot of these leadership experience is especially for experienced nurses who are wanting to leverage their career. You want to look for these opportunities, right? And a lot of these jobs, they're not under a union, so you can actually negotiate your salary. So that's another art that's on its own, right? We need to get out of the mindset of fighting for our rights. As a nurse, great, right? We're fighting for our wage grid. However, if you go for jobs that's not within a union, you are now in your own hands to negotiate your own salary. So that's an art of its own. But yeah, to answer the question, it just means excluded positions.
And I got a question. Is this going to be recorded? Absolutely. It's being recorded right now. It will be ready for you to play again on the Facebook group. I'm also going to be putting this up on YouTube. I think Ella will be putting this up on some of her socials, so don't worry, it's not going anywhere. All this information will still be available to you if you're not able to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
So one
I just
other
want to
thing
add to
go ahead.
Sarah. For LinkedIn, Sarah mentioned a great point is we need to be more socially visible, right? We're so tired of the working conditions we're in, but it seems the media is not picking us up. So we need to be out there, I would say, to use LinkedIn, build your portfolio, have a good picture there. And you need to teach the kind of the system, the LinkedIn system, what jobs you're looking for. Because initially when I sign up, it all just gives me RN stuff. I'm like, well, I don't want to do bedside. So you need to make sure you start tailoring. Like, oh, I want remote, I want certain jobs have some certain keywords. The over time, as more you use the LinkedIn engine, it start to know you. So right now it's recommending jobs for me that's really tailored to kind of the jobs that I am interested in. So if you say, well, I don't know where to start, I actually have a Facebook group as well that's called Non-Traditional Nursing. That's all the jobs I post. It's all about non-bedside jobs. You can start there and look at that. And I post daily new jobs. So just to throw it out there.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And some of the keywords I think that you should use are the word remote, work from home, virtual, hybrid. Like these are all the keywords that you need to be looking for. And if you just go to my group, I do post jobs. Other nurses post jobs. I actually created a report last year. I basically compiled all of the remote jobs I had found last year, and I made a list of all the companies across Canada that I know of that hire remote. So I'll put that link down later if you guys wanted to pick up that report. There's actually a 50% off until Sunday for Nurses Week, so make sure you get that if you're interested. I also have a resume template if you're looking to apply for remote jobs, just highlighting some of the skills that you might need to mention. So there's been a couple questions that I'll put here. Some of them are a little off topic, but there's a question about online courses for project management in healthcare. So I actually have, I'm a certified associate of project management, which is not specific to healthcare, but it is a project management designation. So, long story short, what I had to do to be able to write that exam was I had to do, I think it was 20 hours of project management course. And I went onto this website called Udemy. So it's udemy.com. And I was able to get a course for $12.99. So $12.99, not $1,200. When I told my boss that, he thought I meant $1,200, and I was like, no, it's on sale for $12.99. So it doesn't have to cost a lot to get the training you need. I also downloaded an app called Pocket Prep, which gives you like daily practice questions, kind of like what you would do daily practice questions for writing the NCLEX. I think that was really helpful as well. So that's probably what I would recommend. I know that if you sign up for LinkedIn Premium, even for that first free month, you can get access to a lot of project management courses, which you can then take for free. So that's what I would recommend is sign up for LinkedIn, get that free trial month of LinkedIn Premium, access everything you can within that month. And if you still want to pay, then it's like, I think $40 a month. So it's not a lot, but as long as you're taking advantage of it, I think that will help. Thank you, Valerie and Sarah. You're welcome. Do excluded jobs still contribute to MPP? Ella, do you know what that stands for?
I think it's pension. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It would depend on the organization. So, every organization is different and their pension plan will be very varied. So it's kind of difficult to pinpoint exactly if they will contribute to not. So.
Yeah, in my personal experience, when I left the hospital, I went to another organization. So for the first year, I was under contract, so I was not able to contribute to my pension. But the second year, I was. It was a different company, but I used to be part of ONA. So that pension currently still is there, sitting there. So it's still making money, but I'm no longer contributing to it, if that makes sense. So I think there's definitely jobs that are part of it and maybe ones that are not, or maybe they're contributing to a different program altogether.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than Indeed or LinkedIn, are there other resources to find remote work? So I guess to answer that question, I find that a lot of organizations post the same job on multiple different platforms. So if you find a job on LinkedIn, it's likely posted on Indeed. It's likely posted on other job boards. So it's pretty much the same job posting in many different places. But like I said, if you are looking for job opportunities with smaller organizations, maybe they don't have the budget to post in that many places. That's why you need to make sure you flag those companies you want to work for and sign up for their job alerts, or connect with the hiring manager and just make them aware that you're really interested in working there. So that kind of is segueing into another topic, which is networking, which we'll cover a little bit later. But I think, I don't know where else you look, but I think, like I said, just looking at the different organizational websites is good too.
Yes, I think LinkedIn, it has a lot of potential, right? I know this question is asking for other sources, and often I still go back to LinkedIn because recruiters live there. A lot of these private companies or not, you want these kind of hybrid or remote jobs, they often have a recruiters that look at your resume first, not a hiring manager who has a nursing background. Like when you apply for nurses jobs, these people, that's why I say when you write your resume, which we'll touch base on, write it as simple as possible, because the first person that look at your resume is non-medical, often the time, these companies. And you want to make those connections using LinkedIn. And often they will likely post something, say, hey, I'm looking for X and Y, Z, right? And then there you go. You have a source. You directly can talk to that recruiter. I see so many of these posting on my LinkedIn. That's why me and Sarah, we are strongly, strongly recommending you to be on it. Do not be afraid to put yourself on social media. It's Industrial Revolution 4.0 now. We need to be on social media. No matter if you hate it or not, do you want a job, right? That's what I asked myself. I pushed myself. Initially, my LinkedIn is as private as you can get. Even my mom can want me to add me, they need a permission. So right now it's completely open. That's how we want to present ourselves, right? These jobs are so 21st century and so innovative, right? They are on technology. So if you follow the traditional job path, it's a little bit more difficult. And I just want to add that, for project management role, yeah, certification and education is that beneficial, but there's also a way around it where you can get into this role. It's through networking, right? That's the big thing. You need to sell your skills, saying, I don't have whatever project management, but all the stuff I've done as a healthcare worker applies to that role they're looking for. So it just depends on how you articulate it, and that's the key. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's key. So just a couple more comments in the chat. The $12.99, yes, that's Canadian. That's what I was referring to. Are there any additional courses or classes you would recommend for an RPN to be more attractive as a candidate and secure a remote job? I'm glad you asked this. I get this question all the time. Personally, I don't think there are any special certifications that you need to have that will give you a better chance. I do think that if you brush up on things like Microsoft Office, that will always be a good idea. These are things that you can do for free, by the way. So brushing up on things like Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Office, Microsoft Outlook, just these are sort of skills that as nurses we don't realize we need to have for a remote job. So when you think about what you do day to day at the bedside, those are what I call clinical skills. When you're looking for a remote job, you're going to be needing to focus more on technical computer skills. And so you might be thinking, well, I don't really do that at work, but you have to really dig deep. So even things like EMR systems, listing all the EMR systems you've ever used, the fact that you can use email. If you are good at any of these Microsoft Office platforms or softwares I just mentioned, if you can run a Zoom meeting, that's going to be valuable. If you are someone who pays attention to detail, all of us as nurses, we can multitask, we can communicate effectively, we can work well under pressure. These are all things that actually mean a lot in a remote job. Even things like being able to critically think and problem solving. These are things they want to see, right? And even in terms of project management, I'm even thinking something like discharge planning would be valuable to include, because you're essentially coordinating a lot of different things with many different moving parts. And we think like, oh, this is something nurses do every day. But again, to someone that's outside of healthcare, it's not something you do every day, and it is valuable. So you really need to articulate. And like I said, speak their language. Look at the job posting and what are the exact keywords they are mentioning. Try to work that into your resume. Or when you look at a job posting and you see the qualifications, usually they're listed in order of importance. So if you can address at least the first 5 bullet points, I think that will give you a much better chance than a generic resume that you're using to apply to bedside jobs.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with what Sarah said there. And the advantage is, just want to give a context. So RPN in Ontario is LPN in Alberta and BC. So it's just called different things, because RPN in BC is a psych RN, so it's different. In kind of response to that, it's like again, take yourself out of that nurse role, right? When we apply for a lot of these creative or innovative jobs, you are a nurse. No matter if you're RPN, LPN, or RN, you want to sell that nursing skills that you have. So a lot of then you have to use that as your advantage, because a lot of these people who don't work in depth with healthcare recruiting for these positions, they might not know the difference. So that's why I said highlight your skills. Make sure you highlight the contributions you're doing. Sarah saying discharge planning, for example, you do not just simply say, I discharge 4 patients in a week. That means absolutely nothing. You need to give people a little bit of context what that means. How did you coordinate that discharge? What was the result of it, right? So that's how you kind of have to go about when you write your resume, to make sure people understand, even though they're not a nurse, that you're making significant impact in people's life. You're letting these people go home after recovering from illness. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really great. So, in terms of the actual skills, what do you think are some skills that should be included on a resume?
Skills. Oh, great. That's why I love to interact with clients. Say, imagine you're back into a shift, right? I want you to write every nitty gritty details you can, and then kind of look at it, and then see what you do. Because I found that because we work with professionals, doctors and etc., everybody's like a smarty, so we talk in a very high medical term, and then he's like, "Oh, I don't know, I just save life, I do CPR." I'm like, do you realize what you're doing for a person that's not in healthcare? Like, that's badass. So you gotta have to start selling, have thick faces, right? What I do is badass, right? It's not like, oh, you know what? I don't know, assist with central line. Okay, that's a life-saving procedure. In a lot of times, you gave antibiotics and stuff. So pay attention to details. And if you have any case management type of work, that's something a lot of these remote or hybrid work people are looking for in the requirement list, is you can handle a caseload. All right. If you already work in community and your title is somewhere related to case manager, you're already one step ahead. You just need to know how to sell yourself correctly. And if you say, well, I'm a hospital nurse, I don't work case management. Do you not handle a patient assignment load? Right.
Mhm.
So do you not handle discharge planning? Do you not do patient advocacy? You do all that stuff, but we just have to write it creatively to suit the role. So there's a lot of things that we can unpack there. But given the
Mhm.
time, I kind of just gave a high level update there. So
Yeah. Okay, so we have a question. How would you tailor your resume to fit the job you are applying for? So I think without going into very specific details, I think you need to look at the qualifications. So if, let's say, for example, they're asking for a nurse who has leadership skills. So what you might want to do then is talk about all the different opportunities you've had for leadership. So even things like being a preceptor, being a charge nurse, these are examples of leadership skills. Um, if you've ever done any patient teaching, right? That's still, you are in a position where you're educating people about very important things. If you've ever joined a committee at work, if you have ever been part of a go live, if you have ever moved units, right? Like that's part of redevelopment. So I think these are all things you can include, even if you were not the person leading this initiative, you were still part of it. And so you still need to mention it. If you've done any volunteer work, even if it's not healthcare related, that's still leadership. So I think what we really need to do is be more confident in ourselves. Don't be afraid to brag. And when you're speaking about your accomplishments, I want you to remove the words only and just, because I've had clients say, oh, should I mention that I've worked in a correctional facility? I only worked there for 8 months. And I'm like, 8 months is almost a year. And that makes you badass. And she's like, oh, I managed like a
too
jail.
humble.
It's just
Yes.
like I only managed like 200 of them. I'm like, only 200? That's amazing. Like there's no hospital unit that has 200 beds. So another thing that you should do on your resume is quantify as much as you can. And by that, I mean numbers, right? So, how many patients have you looked after per shift? How many beds on your unit? If you are a preceptor, how many preceptees have you had and over what length of time? If you were part of like a falls committee or a quality improvement, what was the metric that you helped increase? And if you don't know these answers, maybe this is something you need to look into. If you're still at your current organization, get these numbers so that you can show the improvements that you've made.
Yeah, yeah. Quantify everything you can do. And also use your hospital as a selling point. Is your hospital a first level trauma center? How many patient beds does your hospital have, right? And how many patients do you see in a week? How many people you discharge? If you like say if you were in like, for example, hand washing committee, I improved the unit's hand washing consistency by 70%, 80%. Something like that. That shows results and impact. Because a lot of time clients ask me, "Oh, I do everything the other nurse do. What does it make me stand out?" It's your contribution. Everybody nurse differently, right? Although the outcome is the same, but well, not same at the time, but that's what's make you unique is the effects that you have on people. You individualize the care, right? The task is the same, but the result, it's what you have produced. So yeah.
Okay, we have another question. I have 5 years of case management, but it's not my most recent job. Should I highlight it on my resume? Absolutely, you should highlight it. So, what I would suggest is if you don't have a summary section at the very top of your resume, create a summary section, and this is where you're going to list your top 4 to 5 selling points. So maybe, I am a nurse with X number of years experience and 5 years of case management experience. It's okay if it's not like the most recent 5 years, but at some point in your career, you managed to do this for a significant amount of time. And not a lot of people have that background. So absolutely it should be highlighted. You can do creative things like bold the text, you can underline it. There's nothing that says you can't do that.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Okay. And then how would you answer what salary range you are looking for? Have you ever been asked this, Ella?
Oh, that's a good question. So always let them give you a number first. You never approach them with a number if possible, right? At any situation, if they ask you that question, you say, "Oh, thank you for that question. I'm actually really curious about, the company. I want to know more and I want to know this role a bit more because I really want to be part of the team. Would you mind tell me what is your expectation range or the company's range at?" So you always want to kind of direct that question back to the interviewer who's interviewing you, because you don't want to lowball yourself enough they're going to take advantage of you, or you don't want to be like up here and people are like, whoa, we're not going to even proceed with your interview. So you want to gauge them. And the other thing you can do is research beforehand. It's like, okay, I'm applying for this role. What is the kind of the similar range that I can research for? Glassdoor, for example, is where you can look, right? It's like approximately in my province, and people with similar or exact title, what are they making? That gives you a range. So if they're really, really like pushing you for an answer, at least you are giving a market range. And if you're like saying a specific number, aim about 15% higher than what you want, because everybody wants to come in the middle place at the end, right? So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, and absolutely don't be afraid to ask what the salary range is. And you can even use the terminology pay band. That's what they use in HR. And so if you use that term, then they know that you know what you're talking about. So the other thing is like as soon as a job cannot be posted unless there is an internal salary range. So don't let anybody tell you that they don't know what it is. They know what it is, but they're just trying to get you to say the number first, right? And the truth of the matter is, it's a business. So if you're not in a union position, it's in their best interest to pay you the least amount possible. And it's in your best interest to negotiate for the highest amount possible. So you do need to, aim high and meet somewhere in the middle. There are other things you can negotiate other than salary, such as your vacation, such as your benefits, your start date, educational allowance. So these are all things you should think about if you are in a position where you're going non-union or excluded.
Yep, absolutely. The freedom is there. I actually negotiated my nursing license into it, even though my job is not nursing anymore. But they want me to maintain some kind of a licensure. I'm like, great, pay for it. But obviously, I didn't ask it like that. But you
Yeah.
need to know the art of selling it. And then they're like, sure, we'll cover your yearly nursing license. And gosh, how much is it now? Like $600, $700?
Oh my
Gosh,
gosh, that's how much it is in Ontario. It's
yes.
$300 and we're
No,
complaining.
oh my gosh, in BC, like our BC people put in the chat how much we pay. It's ridiculous.
But then
But
you guys got that 13% increase, so that helps a little.
well, there's caveat to everything, right? So I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
people from BC will tell us passionately if they are in the chat. So yeah, so much freedom there when you try to negotiate salary, and always try your best for them to come with a number before you say anything. So that's always the good way to go.
absolutely. Okay, so last question. We're just going to touch on networking a little bit because I think this is something that nurses absolutely need to start doing. I definitely didn't learn how to network. I just thought network meant going to events awkwardly and trying to ask people for a job. So that's what I thought networking was. And what I've come to realize is that it's just really um, making professional relationships with people in your community, in your network, whether that be face to face or online. It's just growing your network so that people know what it is you're about. People know what kind of job you're looking for. Also, on the flip side, people know what you can offer them. So if you are able to offer someone something in return, they might be more likely to want to help you. So I think that's really important. Networking could just be as simple as asking somebody, do you have 10 or 15 minutes to chat with me about how you got your current job. And don't be afraid to reach out to people. You'd be surprised. I have reached out to somebody on LinkedIn that has so many followers, and she wrote back to me right away. So just try, because you don't know until you do. Also, don't expect every single person to respond to you. Don't take it personally. Just keep trying.
Yes. Yeah. Have thick faces. The worst is they don't respond to me. That's my
Mhm.
mentality. That does not say anything about me, right? I'm still awesome, right? You need to
Mhm.
have that mindset. It's, you tried, you did what your part. If people want to reach out, they will still reach out to you, but never take it personally, and don't be shy. It's like that. You need some kind of professional social presence now going into the future of work. This is the future we live in now. You need to be on social media, right? You can be an introvert, absolutely, but it's just there's also a way that introverts can flourish as well on social media. You just have to have a thick face and
Mhm.
willing to connect with people, and maybe someday people will want to reach out to you asking about you, right? So always just think there's no lose-lose in any of the networking situation. It's putting yourself out there. You only miss 100% of the chance you don't take, just like applying for a job. If you're like, oh, I'm not sure, but I really want to apply, right?
Mhm.
There's no
Mhm.
harm to it. What's the worst? They don't contact you? Okay, right? So
Yes.
just
Yes.
put yourself out there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I hear this all the time, even about salary negotiation. Oh, I don't know if I should, because what if they take the job offer away? I have talked to recruiters about this. That will not happen. Okay. So basically, once a job offer is there, it's it's almost expected that you negotiate. But as nurses, as women, we think that we should just take the first offer we get. I used to do the same thing. I used to think, I'm going to say whatever I can in the interview. I want to say what they think, or what I think they want to hear, so I can get the job. But I've come to realize now over time, it's me interviewing them as much as them interviewing me. And so you have to think about it. Like, you have the upper hand. The nursing shortage is everywhere. You have the upper hand, and you should definitely negotiate, ask all the questions you want, know that something better for you is out there, but you just have to go about it in the right way. So I'm gonna just pause for a second, and if there's any questions from anyone about anything we've covered, or maybe even other topics, feel free to ask them. We will be wrapping up shortly, but I'm really glad that we did this today, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. I'm looking, I don't see any other comments. So Ella, do you want to tell people where they can find you if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, sure. Everybody can find me kind of on a lot of these big social media platforms. We can connect professionally on LinkedIn. Um, you can just search Ella Huang. I'll come up. My name is kind of on the screen there if you can see. And also on Facebook as well. I have a community group that has 400 plus people in the group, where I post daily about non-bedside career opportunities across Canada. And I also sometimes feature US jobs, because their market is so much developed than us. I want us to have knowledge, right? One thing that I want to make sure everyone knows is knowledge is power. You need to study these jobs out there. Like, you need to be kind of afloat about all the current job market to know what you need to tweak on your resume, so that it will help you in the long run. And the other way to connect with me is through Instagram as well. It's the handle is New Era Nurses, which you can see here. It says New Era Nurses. So that's how you can find me, and drop me an DM, request to join my group. Anything will work. So if you want to get in touch with me. And I also have a newsletter service where I have a free resume template that can just get you going right away with tips kind of written down already. And if you subscribe to my newsletter, you also get a 2-week free newsletter course, which goes through everything from mindset to how to write resume, how to interview, how to network. I give you actually my own examples in this course as well, to really kind of get you going and all that. So that's all completely free. So you just have to subscribe to my newsletter. And obviously, I offer resume and interview sessions as well, one-on-one, through private, just making a one-on-one meeting with me, and then we can go from there.
Great. Thanks, Ella. And for me, my company is the RN Resume. So my website is thernresume.com, all one word. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, uh, YouTube, Facebook. LinkedIn. Ella and I will create a post tomorrow with all of these links if you are interested in connecting with us. Most of you that are in the Facebook group probably gave your email already. So many of you are on my email newsletter, which I send out every Saturday morning. If you are not, feel free to send me a PM and I will add you. Okay, I don't know if we should do a couple more questions. Do you want to do a couple more questions, Ella? Real quick?
Yeah, at 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
rapid
all
fire.
right. So I think this question or this comment is about salary negotiation. Unfortunately, this happened to me. They posted a range and it came just above the middle. They came lowballed me and said, sorry, we can't pay you that. I respectfully declined the position. So I think, and sometimes it's not meant to be, right? Like if they're just not going to value what you're worth, then it's probably not the best idea to work for that organization anyway. So I think you dodged the bullet there.
Absolutely, I agree. If you have to be clear of what you want, and if it's not kind of making your expectation, then there's no mutual fit, right? So you have dodged a bullet there, just like what Sarah said. Yeah.
Okay. With someone with a year or two of long-term care experience as a new grad, is it still possible to land a remote role? How would one get into or have a foot into the door in data abstraction or utilization management roles? So the first question, I think it is possible. People are not necessarily looking for years of experience when it comes to non-traditional or remote jobs. I know, like, this is again back to bedside mentality. We're very concerned about years of experience, but when you leave that, it does not matter so much as what you have actually accomplished and what your skills are. So if you've even worked for 2 years, I think it's fine to start applying.
Yeah. And I would actually want to add, like, did you supervise LPN? Did you let a team of nurses to do something? Right? It's a big facility. How many people? How many seniors? How many beds you manage and be leadership a part of? Again, selling skills is much more important than selling years of experience. And myself, I actually came from long-term care leadership and got into the hybrid career. So there you go. I'm a living example of you can definitely leverage there. And then I think the second part, data abstraction or utilization management roles. Again, it comes down to networking and kind of start looking internal first. Because I found these jobs where data analytics, business analytics, they can be applicable, but there might just need a bit more work around it. And I know there's like nurses who are actually taking courses in kind of data management because it's the hot topic these days. So you can definitely look into those.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to end for today and really glad that you joined and participated. Thanks,
Take care,
everyone.
everyone.